Hey, Alex here with episode number 13 of Sports the Nemo Way. And this is our last episode with only one person having the player on their list. So that being said, we made it another double episode with Shawn, Kemp, and Joe Dumars, both being defended by Ray, having the last two solo players. So we will start the episode with Shawn Kemp, the Rain Man, the 6'10", 230-pound power forward who played for the Seattle Supersonics, Cleveland Cavaliers, Portland Trailblazers, and my Orlando Magic. Winning no titles or MVPs, he's a 6-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA, playing 14 years in the league after being drafted 17 overall, with career averages of 14, 8, and 1 on 48% shooting. So, Ray, make your case.
All right, here we go. He was drafted pretty much out of high school, and he got off to a slow start, starting one game his rookie season and averaging only 6.5 points a game. Not legendary, but you got to start somewhere. Throughout the next 3 seasons, he started to get his stride, but 15, 8, and 15 and 10 gradually goes up from there. Then we hit the finals year when they made it to the NBA Finals against the Bulls. He hit 19-6 and 11-4, his top career year. They lost in the finals that year, but what do you expect when you go against Jordan? He would soon get traded to Cleveland, which he still pretty much had good stats and a career high in scoring with 20.5 that year. Then the taint of the legacy going to Portland and Orlando, putting up numbers that I might be able to put up if I could talk shit enough to Oakley to get fouled and go to the line. But Shawn, the king of the monster dunk, athletic, fast, quick on the block, could run his own fast break. Very impactful on a position where you didn't get much more than a back-down post player. I don't want to get too gross on the podcast, but I have to because as much as a badass dunker Kemp was, he could have started his own tea company with all those tea bags he handed out throughout his career. And besides his dunking tea bag business, he was quick on the block and he could hand you a beating down low. And his defense was great as well. But every year he was averaging about 2 blocks a game and at least about 2 steals. He might not have had the hardware of the stats as some of the others, but Shawn Kemp was still a damn exciting player to watch. And I'm proud and I'm honored to have the Rain Man on my top 50 list. And one other thing, Seattle is my second favorite NBA team. He's also 96 in steals, 63rd in rebounds, 55th in blocks, with 6 All-Star games and 3-time All-NBA teams. So there you go.
The Rain Man. Well, I will say, before anybody makes their case, I love the nickname The Rain Man.
Maybe we should rename him the Teabag.
Yeah, there you go.
I like the Teabag.
But, so who would like to come first?
I'll start it off like normal.
All right, let's go, Drew.
Well, I knew a little bit about Shawn Kemp, but when I really started to know him was in the Last Dance when they showed the Seattle Supersonics episode when they played them in the finals with Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp. And he was a pretty good player. He played pretty good defense, I thought. He's definitely scored a lot, too. As Ray mentioned, that was his best scoring year. He was jumping out of the gym, dunking. But then, I don't know, it just wasn't enough for Shawn Kemp. Like Ray said, it was Michael. No one beat Michael in the finals. No one took Michael to Game 7 in the finals. The only Game 7 really was with the Pistons and with Reggie Miller in that last year when the Jordan... That's all I got right now.
Okay.
All right. I'll go. Again, I watched Shawn Kemp play. I rooted for Shawn Kemp. He was fun to watch. He was exciting. He's one of those guys. We've had several guys. We talked about Pete Maravich and Grant Hill that careers were cut short. I think Shawn Kemp was one that got off to a slow start and then maybe was hung around a little too long because then the numbers went way down. And so number-wise, when I started comparing him to the other guys on my list, he just didn't quite make it. I do have one question. I didn't see that he's in the Hall of Fame.
He's not.
I didn't. Okay, I didn't just miss it then. That also kind of knocked him down for me a little. If he's going to be on the top 50, I really feel like he ought to be in the Hall of Fame. But he was exciting to watch and a lot of fun.
I think he kind of falls into an interesting category. I was going to bring this up far later in podcast episodes with a couple specific players, but I think he kind of fits the mold. Shawn Kemp was, he was good. I'm not trying to not say that, but he was super exciting to watch. He was famous for being electrifying and dunking on everybody, which sometimes when people become really famous and popular for stuff like that, people think that they were great. I'm trying to think of another. Well, I don't want to ruin another argument, so I'm not going to bring him up. But he's very popular, but I don't necessarily think he was very great. So he might be remembered, but he's not necessarily, I don't think, a great player. I think he was good. But, I'll leave it at that for the moment.
I think you were hitting on something I'm about to hit on.
Okay, go for it.
But I'll just run through my argument the way it is. I have in big capital letters at the top of mine, not a Hall of Famer. That pretty much boils it down. But I do have more. The Rain Man shortened his peak due to bad decisions and laziness. His peak of 1911 2-2 is very, very solid, although not special. And we've kind of talked about this in other episodes, like Uncle Doug touched on. If it's short, it needs to be special. When a player's career is cut short due to injury and things outside their control, we feel sorry for them. We make excuses for them. We play the what-if game. But when it's their own choices, like, getting fat and getting addicted to cocaine, it's harder to do that. I also think it says something that before all these issues came to light and before he put on all the weight and all those things happened, the Sonics refused to pay Shawn Kemp. He held out. He did all sorts of things trying to get a contract extension, and the Sonics wouldn't do it. Which I think maybe they knew before we knew that he was having issues. So I mean that's just hearsay, I guess. But here's the things that have me really struggle with Shawn Kemp: showing up drunk to practice, drinking on game days. In the lockout shortened season, he showed up to training camp 315 pounds.
Holy shit.
When your playing weight is 230, that's a lot of weight. But here's where I'm going to go where I think Wade touched on a minute ago. We currently have a freak athlete of a power forward that's famous for dunking on guys in the league right now. That guy actually puts up more impressive numbers than Shawn Kemp. But right now, he's kind of turned into a punchline in the NBA. His name is Blake Griffin. So I don't think Shawn Kemp is going to make my list. Blake Griffin's definitely not going to make my list. I enjoyed the Rain Man a lot. I rooted for him in the finals against the Bulls. Not just him, but I also like the glove. An old Detlef Shrimp. But he's exciting. He was fun to watch. But he didn't even come in the top 15 power forwards for me. Ray, you got anything to say?
Yeah. So with no stats and, off-court trouble, with the specific talent of just, killing you in a low post, there's nobody on your list you're saying that he could match up against and just tear apart.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure Shawn Kemp could score on guys. I just don't think he did it consistent enough to warrant putting him over anybody on my list. I mean, when we're talking about scoring here, I guess. When his two best seasons are 19-11 and 18-10, I mean, those are solid numbers. I'm not saying they're crap or anything. It's not elite. He's also a high turnover guy for somebody that didn't handle the ball very much. I mean, he got 95-96. He averaged 19-11 with 4 turnovers a game. I'm not even sure how he accomplished that. When you average twice as many turnovers, you do assists. That's hard. I mean, that's hard to accomplish.
Yeah, that's rough.
So, I just don't see it. Yeah, Shawn Kemp more than likely probably dunked on half my list at some time or another. I'm not sure how many guys he played against on my list. It's just off my top of my head. I said half. But I just don't think he stacks up as an overall player.
What about his defense? Let's talk about defense for a second.
He's a solid defender, a good shot blocker. I think a lot of that has to do with his freaky athleticism. He went up and got a lot of shots, which can't take that away from him. Later on, when he got fat and ground bound, he blocked a little bit less, but he was always a decent shot blocker until really late in his career when, that happens to everybody. So, I mean, he was, like you said, he was a solid defender. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I'm not saying he was, like, garbage. I think he's better than some of the guys. Yeah, I think he's better than Oakley. But I just didn't have him getting even close to my list, to be honest.
Okay. I mean, that's valid theories.
I mean, who would you remove from my power forward list to put him on there?
Who do you got? Let me see who you got.
Well, I'd have to give that. I don't have it sitting there.
Well, we can probably all just say our 9 and 10.
Alex's last power forward is Chris Bosh.
That's true. I have Gasol and Bosh.
Yep, he's off. Taking Bosh off.
What about Powell?
No, Powell can stay. We'll take Bosh.
Okay, Bosh.
Okay,
is off.
wait. Bosh is a weak link to my list. It's not a secret. I mean, we went over that in the episode. But Bosh has numbers that are pretty much equal to Kemp's.
Bosch is 19 and 8.5 versus 14 and 8.5. So he outscored him by 5.
Okay. What about the physicality?
I mean, Bosch is not an overly physical player, but they're built very similar. I mean, Bosch is a little skinnier, but I mean, their playing weights are both in the 230s. So, I mean, not like Kemp was a huge muscle-bound guy.
Right. But I don't know. The way I see it, I don't know. I just like a physical guy. I can't help myself.
Hey, I'm not knocking physicality. That's why. That's part of the reason I diss on today's NBA so much.
I mean, he was definitely physical. There's no denying that.
So my last two guys, talking 9 and 10 on my power forward list, were Chris Webber, Anthony Davis. Webber was basically 10 and 21 for his career, which was pretty much Shawn's peak. And Anthony Davis so far is doing 24 and 10. So that's why I had them ahead of him.
Yeah, I got Davis too, and I have Pettit, my other one, so you can argue with Drew about that.
Pettit's better than Shawn Kemp.
I don't know. I just kind of think I wasn't trying to put Shawn Kemp down with my opening statement. Mainly what I was trying to say is, okay, when you think of Shawn Kemp, you think of dunking. Do you really think of anything else?
I think of dunks and excitement. He was just an exciting guy to watch till we got fat Shawn Kemp. Like Alex said.
Like he was good. I'm not saying he's not good.
No,
good
he
player.
was good.
But when you think of an all-time great player, you should be able to think of a bunch of things and accomplishments, and you just pretty much think of him dunking, and he was one of the teams that lost to Jordan.
Well, let me bring up another player that was famous for dunking, Vince Carter.
Okay, that's fair enough.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Wade's all-time favorite player.
So, I mean, Shawn Kemp might not have had an outside shot, but what is Vince Carter most famous for?
It is dunking. You're correct.
And that's all you really think about.
But he's also, I think, top 10 all-time in threes made. He's over 25,000 career points, adding 8 All-Star appearances.
Vince Carter has a lot more longevity than Shawn Kemp probably has. He just
A
retired.
lot less problems as well.
Well, I mean, not everybody can get addicted to cocaine.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the cocaine's a little bit different, but you try and put on 70 pounds. I'll give you I'll give you a couple years. Try and put on 70 pounds.
Well, I'd have to, be on unemployment for a good year and a half and just lay around and watch, Golden Girls or something.
I get your point on Vince Carter. He is known for dunking, but you think of I think you think of other stuff as well. He is known for dunking. You're not wrong on that point.
I mean, the people that actually sit down and watch basketball, like we got together with this podcast because we love the game, and we know Vince Carter has more to offer than dunking. But to the regular population, you ask about Vince Carter, and you're like, oh yeah, he won that dunk contest at one time with them 3 dunks, and that's all I really remember.
2000.
Yeah.
Or when
Hey, don't forget him jumping over Frederick Weiss.
That's what I was about.
I mean, he also dunked on every big man in his era. So I mean, you can pull up a YouTube clip of him dunking on anyone.
Oh yeah.
So anyway,
Well, I think, truthfully, Shawn Kemp falls into, and we do this a lot. We have a lot of what if guys here at the end of our lists.
yeah,
A lot of guys that we all have, somebody has a special feeling about, or really enjoyed watching, or really enjoy, whatever. And had Shawn Kemp had he taken care of himself, had he stayed in shape with his talent, no telling where he would have been.
Oh yeah.
But we can't judge him on had he stayed in shape. We got to judge him on what he did. And part of the reason he hung around, he had bills to pay.
true.
And
Yep.
so he probably stuck around too long, and he probably got out of shape. And I can't imagine having to lose 70 pounds.
Oh man.
I was off on that. It's actually 85.
Oh,
Oh.
jeez.
So I mean, that's I haven't put on 85 pounds since I was a child.
Yeah.
Like
I was going to say.
I mean, I'm talking like I haven't put on 85 pounds since junior high.
Right, me too.
Junior high to now, I haven't put on 85 total pounds. I'm 33 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that-
it's not like I'm not like I'm 20.
Right.
It's hard for me to even wrap my mind around. He did this in a few months, not like a year. It took him a few months, the off season, and then they added a month for the lockout, and he put on 85 pounds.
My question is, how are you doing all that cocaine and gaining that much weight? I feel like that doesn't go hand in hand. That's just weird.
Maybe this was pre or post cocaine. I don't know where
Right.
I don't know where the cocaine was, because he did go to rehab, but then he developed a severe drinking problem.
Ah, there it is.
Oh.
And alcohol will put the weight on.
Yeah.
But almost everybody in this room, well, at least 3 of us probably have had a portion of their life where you drink a lot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I had a portion of
Right.
my life where I don't remember most nights of the week, and I didn't put on that much weight.
I think I'm still on the back end of that.
I mean, so like 85 pounds in 3 months or whatever is like,
Yeah.
I don't even know, how is that humanly possible? Obviously, he's bigger than us, so he has a bigger frame to put weight on.
Yeah.
But
some people can fluctuate weight like no other. You'd be surprised.
I just feel like in order to do that, you have to care so little about your
Yeah.
career.
Yeah. Like you're a professional
At that
athlete.
point,
like,
He's done. He just wants the paycheck to pay off the baby mamas.
But go back to Vince Carter. We talked about Shawn Kemp averaging over 20 once in his career. Vince Carter did 11 times. I mean, I know scoring isn't the end-all, be-all. It's not the only argument there, but that's 11 to 1 is a huge gap.
Well, I understand. Like, I'm not totally lost my mind. I need a stray jacket for myself. Like, I'm not comparing.
Well, you have Vince on your list, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
do I.
Yeah. And then I got Shawn Kemp at 48. It's not like I got him up there above LeBron. Like, I'm not totally psychotic here. But, the man has some talent, and I fell in love with the Sonics, back in the day. And I don't know, his just raw talent was just craziness.
So let me ask you this, Ray. What's the difference between Shawn Kemp and Amari Stoudemire?
Ooh.
I think Amari's a little better.
I was gonna say I think Amari's better, at least statistically.
I mean, neither one of them won a championship.
No.
Well,
No
yeah.
MVPs.
Yeah, Amari's 19.9 and 8.1.
Amari's peak is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 seasons where he was 25.
and he
Yeah.
was. He also
I mean,
had a
yeah,
good
he
jump
was
shot.
nasty on the Suns.
And he averaged 25 for the Knicks one year.
Yeah.
And then it all went down.
Yeah, then his injury, and his
Yeah.
career's over. He also could block shots. He was a freaky athlete, dunked on more guys than he's worth. He played with a Hall of Fame point guard who fed him the ball and on the pick and roll and got him a bunch of dunks on guys. I mean, they're very, very similar players. Statistically, Amari is better. I believe he has more All-Star games, and I don't know about All-NBA. I don't have all that stuff in front of me. Amari's got a special place for me. I fell in love with Amari when him and Matrix when they were in Phoenix together. So I know a lot about Amari, but Blake and Amari are the two guys I think of comparatively to Shawn Kemp. He's definitely a better defender than Blake Griffin. He may be a slightly better defender than Amari, but I think they're very similar players, and statistically they're superior to him. And I don't have either one of them on my list either.
No, I mean that's understandable. I think Shawn Kemp is just a little more famous for the things he did. Amari's a little bit basic. I mean, he wasn't flashy or anything, so he kind of got out of the spotlight because he had what was it, Nash throwing him the ball. So Nash usually got most of the light on him. Blake, he was more of a gimmick guy. He couldn't really shoot. I mean, he could put up like 10 rebounds a game. But, I mean, he was just a nasty dunker as anybody. But, I mean, what's his most famous dunk? The car?
Jumped over
he
a
jumped
car.
over a car.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, I just want to say this. I've wanted to say this to more people than I should for a long time. That was the lamest dunk contest dunk I've ever seen.
Oh, my God, yes.
I can
And
jump
how
over
he
it.
won the contest with that, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Second off, he didn't even clear the car. He landed on the damn thing. And I'm going to point this out. Uncle Doug can back me up because he was also there. In a Gus Macker, I watched a guy much smaller, never made it to the league, jump over a car the other way, bumper to bumper,
Yeah.
and dunk and win a dunk contest in a Gus Macker in Kirksville, Missouri.
Yeah, I was really pissed when Blake Griffin jumped over the hood.
Right?
What are you doing? You're not winning nothing.
As a little kid, when I saw the car, I'm like, he's gonna jump over this car like long ways, or at least over
Right.
the sunroof over the guy. No, he jumps over the hood, and this isn't like a tall car. This is
It's
like
a Kia
Yeah, it's a,
Optima.
this is a tall
Did it-
car.
Don't you remember the Gray Ghost
yeah.
jumping bumper
I
to
do.
bumper over that
Yep.
car? I was like, I don't know, 8. I was dumbfounded. When Blake Griffin did it, I was like, that's it.
Didn't Kobe Bryant make a video when he was probably in his 30s already? A car like flies
Yes.
by and he jumps over top of it.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
he did.
He did do that.
So I mean, if old Kobe can do it, or at least
Right.
seasoned Kobe can do it, I mean, yeah.
Not that I want to turn this into a Blake Griffin podcast by any means.
No.
I just think he's a solid comparison for Shawn Kemp. Honestly, I didn't know whether Shawn Kemp was a Hall of Famer before I started doing this. Like I said, I really like Shawn Kemp, but the NBA lets a lot of dudes into the Hall. So I wasn't sure, and then when I saw he wasn't a Hall of Famer, I was like, man, that's a hard thing to go up against.
Yeah, I mean, they have his Hall of Fame probability here. I mean, it's not high. Not.
What is the percentage?
It is 38.4.
Well, you're eligible for the Hall after 5 years,
5 years, yep.
and he retired after 03.
Yeah, I don't think he's that good.
So, I mean, he's been retired for 18 years. I don't think he's going to get in, guys.
No, I don't think so at this point.
No, probably not.
But, I think we talked about this off the air earlier, Hall of Fames do funny things. Like, take things into account that they shouldn't, probably. You know, you're either a Hall of Fame basketball player or you're not. Now, I'm not trying to make this big case that Shawn Kemp's a clear Hall of Famer, but I wonder how much of him not being in the Hall has to do with his off-the-court issues.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, you got Rodman. He had a lot of off-court issues, but it wasn't like it wasn't crazy.
I mean, it's kind of crazy, but his case is a lot more clear than Shawn Kemp's. I mean, he's one of the all-time rebounders. He's 5 championships.
Great defender.
Yeah, maybe the greatest defender of all time. Like Shawn Kemp isn't any of those things, although he
Right.
had a solid career.
I mean, Rodman was skipping practice to go get drunk and hang out with Carmen Electra and go to WWE matches. It's wild.
WCW.
Oh, I'm
Let
sorry.
me correct you.
WCW.
At least Robin came back and didn't put on 85 pounds.
Well, I mean,
That's also
true.
true. He just won sprints after that. So I guess we give our closing statements on the Rain Man and move on to old Joe Dumars.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right, well, I'll go. As I stated earlier, Anthony Davis and Chris Webber were my bottom guys in this category. And their career numbers are actually higher than Shawn's peak numbers. And as Alex mentioned, the no Hall of Fame really hurts. I really liked Shawn Kemp. I loved watching him play. He just didn't make my top 50.
I mean, pretty much just kind of repeat what I said earlier. I mean, he was a great dunker. He was fun to watch. He had a couple of good years, but outside of the dunking, and one of the teams that losing to Jordan, I don't really think he's accomplished a whole lot. He obviously had a bunch of off-the-court issues that affected his on-the-court production. He was good, but I don't really think he was a great player.
I think just adding on what my dad and Wade said, he was a great dunker, obviously. And I think he played some really good defense, but that's about all he was really known for. And it's hard not being a Hall of Famer to be a top 50 player of all time because, like Alex said earlier, a lot of people get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not like baseball where nobody gets in. Some years they let in a lot of people. So I think that hurts him a lot. But maybe you never know. He may still make it. Never know. Someone might change their mind. Probably not, but that's what I have to say about Shawn Kemp.
Shawn Kemp actually is one of my favorite what-ifs of all time. I actually shout out buddy Uber Dahlhoff. We used to play this game where we would play what if, and you'd pick a player and you'd transport them to like a different era or something like that, and like what their career would look like. And Shawn Kemp was always one of my favorite guys to do that with. What if Shawn Kemp didn't have the weight issues? What would his career look like? Or what if Shawn Kemp played today as a 5 in this wide open NBA, and all he had to do is protect the rim and roll to the basket off the pick and roll and catch lobs and dunk on guys, with not a ton of big men in the NBA, because his skill set and his talent is so tantalizing. It's hard not to think about it. Like, what would he have done if he had his shit together? Unfortunately, I can't put you in my top 50 by saying, man, he would have been really good if he wouldn't have gotten fat. I just can't bring myself to do that. So that's why he's not in my top 50.
Sometimes I just have to look past the stats sometimes, because you think of some players and they have these stats and you're just like, yeah, okay, they got some points here and they got some assists here and there, but you don't really remember what they did. You have other players who have a pretty solid career, but they embed themselves with the on-court performance and the showmanship and the things that they did. And that's kind of what Shawn Kemp did. He might not have been, big points, whatever, but he embedded himself because of what he did on the court. Dunking over guys, post protector, the defense that he put down. I mean, you can measure in stats, but sometimes you can't measure, things like just raw talent. And that's kind of what his legacy was. I mean, you can minus the 85-pound, there's the drug stuff and stuff like that, but sometimes you got to base your decision off talent by itself. and that's why I chose Shawn Kemp.
Fair enough. So I guess that is our mid-episode switch to our new player, Mr. Joe Dumars of the Detroit Pistons, the Go Fuck Yourself Bad Boys. Yeah, there's our explicit warning for this episode. The 6'3", 190-pound shooting guard who won 2 championships, no MVPs. He's a 6-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA. He played 14 years in the league after being the 18th pick in the draft. He is a Hall of Famer with career numbers of 16, 2, and 4 on 46% shooting. What do you got for us this time, Ray?
All right. Now, I mean, he wasn't the flashiest guy. He was more the basic shooting guard. But, I mean, he was a great clutch shooter. Tough, and he could turn it up another level when he needed. Isaiah might have been the star of the team, but Joe was just as good, if not better at times. And he showed it in that 89 finals when he scored 17 straight points in the third quarter and eventually winning the finals MVP over Thomas. Not only was he a clutch shooter, but he also had a killer crossover, and he could drive to the basket. He could shoot it in your eye if it wasn't good enough to beat you. Great player for the Bad Boys era of basketball. He was a 2-time champ, 6-time NBA All-Star. His career points is 16,401. His career assists is 4,612. Like I said, he wasn't the flashiest guy, but he was a very dependable player, very good shooter, and he was a very good complement to Isaiah Thomas.
Fair enough, fair enough. I think you're up against it here, Ray.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hate in this room for this era of Pistons basketball.
Don't hate on Joe.
So I'm going to jump to Drew, who didn't watch the Bad Boy Pistons, and see what he has to say.
Well, I've heard a lot of hate. I've seen some of it. I watched the Bad Boy Pistons 30 for 30 off. So I watched The Last Dance that I've mentioned in a bunch of episodes. But anyway, I haven't really heard much about Joe Dumars. I'm going to be completely honest. I really haven't heard much about him. So when I hear about all the Bad Boys, I hear about Lambeer and Mahorn, Isaiah Thomas, and all that kind of stuff. I don't really hear much about old Joe.
Well, I think he is the most liked Bad Boy Piston.
He's the nice one.
Yeah.
Right. He's my favorite player on my least favorite team.
Yeah. He's probably the one I don't know the least about. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fair enough there, Drew. Let's go the opposite direction here and go about the guy who actually lived through the Bad Boy Pistons. I was alive, but very young. And we know you have a lot of hate in your heart for this team, but what do you think about Joe?
I was not a Pistons fan at all. I'll admit that. Lambeer is probably my least favorite player of all time. Joe, though, was the exception. Joe was a classy guy. He was a good player. He had 16, only 2 rebounds, 4.5 assists. My other guys at this spot, we're talking guys like Bob Cousy, put up 18, 5 and 7.5. Pete Maravich, who we talked about last time, put up 24, 4.2 and 5.4. His stats just weren't enough. He did have the extras, the 2 NBA titles, including being MVP of one of them. He was 5 times All-Defense. He was a great defender. He was on the All-Rookie team, 85-86 when he came in. So he has some accolades. He was a really good player. I just wish he'd have played for anybody else. And you get him away from Isaiah and some of the other things that went on with the Pistons, and I think his numbers probably go up. You know, his rebounding, and again, a shooting guard's not supposed to be a crazy rebounder, but 2.2. But I think a lot of that has to do with Lambeer, Mahorn, Rodman. You know, he had
Sally.
John Sally. You know, the assists, 4.5. He's behind some other shooting guards and definitely behind point guards. But again, you're looking at Isaiah to do a lot of the assists. So a lot of his stats he sacrificed to make because of the rest of the team. He was, in my opinion, that kind of a guy. He is the one bad boy that I liked through that last bunch. But he just didn't make my list because, again, the numbers just didn't measure up to my bottom guys.
Fair enough. Wade, do you want a shot at this?
Sure. He was kind of. Obviously, I know Joe Dumars. I watched a lot of the old games. I think everyone's watched. All the documentaries and stuff. He was a lockdown defender. He was really good at defense, which I liked. Like Uncle Doug hit on, he has a lot of accolades actually, but he's in that weird spot. I like the person I kind of thought of. I think they play the same position. Was kind of Worthy. They're not the best player on one of these all-time great teams, but they were important to that team, and they filled a lot of roles. He has a lot of accolades, but his overall stats probably suffered for being on an all-time great team. So it's kind of tricky in how you evaluate that, because he won multiple championships, the all defensive teams. He put up some insane shooting numbers, especially later in his career, that I did not know were that good. I think at one point he was even shooting like 5 threes a game and was making very high percentage. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it was very high. But then we're kind of back to the what if game that we played with Worthy. Can you sub someone in there for him that would do the same thing, or would he go to a different team and absolutely tear it up? I don't know. It's hard to figure out. He obviously didn't make my list, but he has some impressive accolades and accomplishments, and was tremendous on defense, which doesn't always show up on a stat sheet. And so yeah, it was kind of. I was interested when I actually fully dove into his stats, which I didn't fully dive into originally. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, his numbers increased after Isaiah left.
Yeah.
I guess this is how I feel about old Joe here. Joe Dumars was a solid player. Tough-minded defender. He could score a little. He could pass a little. Not elite. Joe Dumars is a Hall of Famer. But essentially what we're asking here is, are you a Hall of Famer's Hall of Famer? No, he's not. After Isaiah retired, they handed the franchise to Joe Dumars. Team couldn't win. Winning 40, then 20, and 28 games. Statistically, although this is not an apples-to-apples comparison, because they do play different positions, but statistically, he's Kyle Lowry, only with less assists. Their scoring numbers are very, very similar. They were the second best player on one championship and two. A very good defensive guard. They're both about the same size, only Lowry's heavier. Which leads me to a question. At 6'3", 190, how would he do guarding today's wings?
Like today, right now?
Yes.
Like just today?
Because, 6'3", 190 is not big for a point guard.
No.
It's Drew. Yeah.
Drew's 6'2.5", 6'3", about 185.
Yeah. 5 more pounds than that's me.
Right. So you're looking at Joe Dumars.
Except I'm white.
Right.
Obviously he's going to get mismatched at times. So, you can't. There's obviously big guards that would shoot over top of him. But a lot of all-time great defenders are still great defenders no matter what. They're able to. Gary Payton used to guard Michael Jordan. That's just one example. Rodman guarded centers. If you're a great defender, you're usually just a great defender. Obviously, he's not going to guard like a 6'10" guy, but get what I'm saying? Like,
No, I'm not. I'm
think
not
he
talking about. I'm not even trying to be stupid and ask him to guard big men. I'm just saying, like, at 6'3", 190, not only is he short, he's light.
But a lot of
Is
teams nowadays run 2 point guards. Sometimes some teams run 3 at the same time. So he would match up really well with some teams. I don't know.
I'm not trying to make the case he's not a good defender. I think if you gave Joe Dumars like an Avery Bradley duty, where maybe he played off the ball but guarded the other team's point guard because you had a big point guard that could guard twos, he'd probably be a bulldog. You know, at that, you know, where it's, hey, I want you to hound the other team's point guard 90 feet and just do that. I think he'd be great at that. I just wanted to ask that question. It was really purely a question of what do we like I said, 6'3", 190 is pretty small for a wing.
Yeah.
But it makes you quick, and that's what he kind of was.
Yes, but I'm not doubting his quickness. I'm not saying he wasn't. And Joe Dumars did a very good job guarding Michael Jordan until Michael Jordan put on weight.
Well, yeah.
And
I mean, that's true. Yeah.
And then, because I actually watched a breakdown of it the other day. Today's NBA players are not any taller than they were at any other time of basketball other than very early. In the 80s, the average height in the NBA was 6'7". Today, the average height in the NBA is 6'7". The difference between the 80s and now is 13 pounds. And again, I don't really specifically like today's NBA, so I'm not even trying to pick on anything. I just, it was literally a wonderment for me. But here are the two guys left off your shooting guard list that are on mine. The first one is Jerry West. They're both Hall of Famers. West has more than double the All-Stars, quadruple the All-NBAs. He has the same amount of all-defense. He has more 30-point per game seasons than Dumars has 20-point per game seasons. He beats him in both rebounds and assists, shoots 3% higher from the floor. Dumars does have one more title than West. I just don't see them remotely close to on the same level.
What era was West in?
Oh, he's older. Yes.
Yeah. What decade though?
They won their title in what, 70?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry West also is the only player in NBA history to get his Finals MVP on the losing team.
Yeah.
So imagine what kind of stats you have to put up to get that on the losing team.
Well, West played most of his career in the 60s, though, didn't
Yes. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the eras are a lot different, though.
He is the logo.
Yes, he is. Who's the other one?
The other one is T-Mac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He did seem to
Do you
like that.
do you not like T-Mac?
I mean, I don't know. He had a decent career in Toronto.
In Toronto.
What? You're pushing my buttons, Ray.
How many am I pushing?
All of them up to you right now.
No, I mean, T-Mac was good, yeah. But, I mean, I've got a criteria, and we all know that. I mean, Dumars is tough, and that's what I like. Tracy McGrady?
And what?
Not that tough.
The superior scorer, the superior rebounder, the superior passer. It's
But
okay.
not the superior title holder.
I mean, he has more titles. Is that what you said?
No.
Oh, what'd you say?
Tracy McGrady's got more titles?
No, Joe Dumars does.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think we covered this last episode. Tracy played on garbage-ass teams in Orlando. And then every time Houston and he, that was terrible.
I think I've seen one highlight Tracy McGrady on Houston.
Well, that's just not true. One of the most famous dunks in NBA history is Tracy McGrady in Houston. But I digress.
Yeah, the one highlight. But that's okay. Go ahead.
I think you need to educate yourself. But most of this falls before your cutoff of 2004, by the way.
Yeah.
So my point being, though, is he was a superior player in almost every way except for Dumars was on a team loaded with talent, multiple Hall of Famers, and
What did Dumars have after Isaiah and then left though?
losing franchise that did nothing.
Yeah, because he didn't have anybody.
Right, and he couldn't put up anything close to the numbers of T-Mac did on a terrible team.
I mean, you kind of get held back when you don't have anybody to pass to.
You're making my point for me.
But I'm not. But I'm not though. If you don't have him on the team, what can you do?
I think he's saying that T-Mac also had nobody in Orlando.
Yeah, who did he play with in Orlando?
But what was his assist stats? You can score all day long by yourself.
Yeah, I don't have all of T-Mac's stats sitting in front of me. I do believe over their career they both average 4 assists a game.
Okay.
But I will tell. This will come up actually next episode because T-Mac is our next episode.
Okay. Well, let's not get it all on T-Mac here.
They both did average 4 assists a game. Yeah.
Yes.
We don't want to spoil anything.
But statistically, T-Mac is a gigantic leap forward over Joe Dumars.
Is he a better defender?
Probably not.
Okay, I'll
But
take that one.
although T-Mac is a solid defender, much better than his cousin.
What are you throwing shade at Vince for?
Wow.
Dear God.
Whoa. I'll be on Ray's side next week.
Wow, we're having a sniper
anti-T-Mac.
shots this week.
Oh, it's Wade and I are the only ones with T-Mac.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm on Ray's side.
All right.
On the anti-T-Mac.
You'll lose, don't worry.
No, I won't.
I'm still puzzled why Vince got brought into this. He's such a nice guy.
We'll see.
Ugh.
But yeah, he does have more championships. But T-Mac has more scoring, more rebounding, similar assist numbers, more All-Stars, more than double his All-NBAs. They're both Hall of Famers.
Joe is a nicer guy though.
I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Although,
All right.
At least compared to the rest of the bad boys, he was nice. I don't know
Yeah.
about because T-Mac's pretty nice too.
honestly, but this isn't my opinion, but a lot of people do. Okay, so like you have someone like T-Mac who put up crazy stats. Some people do value like the championships and the all defensive teams and say that that's more valuable than having a scoring title. Some people do view it that way.
He has two, by the way.
Oh, two scoring. I'm sorry, two scoring. But like Joe Dumars is one of the better perimeter defenders ever, and he has 2 titles.
We know you have a soft spot for defense.
I
Wade.
do. I love defense. It's half the game. So I mean, it's more important than you think.
Oh,
But,
I'm not saying it's not important, but we're also not talking about
And defense in the '80s was, but that was hard to do. That was intense.
I mean, I don't know that I would make that case, even though I love the '80s. I think playing defense in the '80s was easier
But you were allowed to
because
do
I'm
more.
allowed to keep my hands on you and hold you where you're and keep you from going there.
That part is true.
That's true, yeah.
But you also have to. Can you go and manhandle an NBA player? It's not hard to do, or not easy to do. Like,
Well, no,
yes, you're allowed to do
I'm-
more, but you physically have to put forth a ton more effort. You don't just stand there and watch people go by like today's NBA.
No,
you're
no,
physically beating
I'm-
someone up and down the floor.
I'm 5'10", 170. I'm not under no illusions that I could guard an NBA player, even if I could hand
that
check
wasn't
them.
really my main point. But
I'm just saying that.
rule-wise, yes, you're right. But you had to do a lot more. It was so physical.
It was more physical.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But T-Mac was not a bad defender by any
No,
means.
he wasn't like a. No, he wasn't.
And
Um,
Can't think of the right word,
Dumars
but-
was a really good defender, but you got to remember he had Sally, Lane Bear, Mahorn, and Rodman protecting the rim behind him.
That's true.
He didn't have to worry about somebody blowing by him. If they got by him, somebody was knocking him down on the lane.
yeah, literally.
So
yeah.
he could body up, get on you, and not worry about it.
That's true. That's a good point.
Valid.
I mean, those are just the 2 guys that were on my list that weren't on your list, so I just compared them to them. I don't think the West comparison is much of a comparison at all. You may have a little bit of a case with T-Mac, but and Wade does have a good point. The championships are something. It's hard to put myself in that mindset. I do have a soft spot for T-Mac, obviously. But maybe if T-Mac played for those bad boy Pistons, they didn't have to bring in scorers constantly to try and score because Dumars couldn't get it done. Maybe T-Mac goes up there and is that score already, and then they win even more championships.
Or they just Hugh Dantley.
Or maybe they just beat T-Mac up the first year, and then we don't ever see him again.
I mean, maybe, but if he's playing for Detroit, he doesn't have to. He doesn't. You know, it is what it is.
Just beat him up.
I'm just saying.
Again, we go back to this. If I guess you'd have to if you couldn't handle it.
I guess so, but
I mean, it was the '80s. They did beat you up if you were scoring on them. So
no, it is 100% correct.
That's true.
Because that's literally Bill Lambier's career. I'm not as good as you, so I'm going to try and hurt you so that you can't be better than me anymore. His whole line is, well, I wanted you to be thinking about me when you entered the lane, so you were off your game. Bill, you're a fucking idiot. Come see me if you want. I don't give a shit. They were thinking about you because they were thinking about their career ending. You weren't just giving hard fouls. You were trying to hurt people.
Right.
There's a difference. If I come down the lane and I know there no layups today, and I'm going to get a hard foul, you're going to hack me across the arms, you're going to, body me up, I'm going to fall to the ground, whatever. Fine. I got you. I can handle that. It's basketball. When you're trying to intentionally hurt me, no.
Right.
That's why people like Larry Bird beat him up.
Yeah.
Again, like last episode, I saw on TikTok, Larry Bird punches him in the face.
Yeah.
You can tell the young one is talking about TikTok.
There's nothing wrong. It's giving a lot of basketball knowledge.
There's a lot of things wrong, but
honestly, I mean, kind of what I was saying. I mean, obviously the Pistons were known for it, but everyone in the '80s, well, most teams in the '80s, you got beat on in the lane.
Yeah. It was a much more physical.
Everybody.
It was a much more physical era.
Yes.
I just think the Pistons took it to a level where it was bad for the game, and I think the NBA agreed because they pretty much pushed them out and made rule changes right after that.
Yeah, because you don't want to get your stars. You don't want to get anybody hurt, but they especially didn't want them taking their stars out. And Lane Bear didn't care; he'd hurt anybody.
They really didn't want them to hurt Jordan.
Well, I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
We just talked about The Last Dance. Remember when they show Rodman throwing Pippen into the stands?
Right.
That foul could have crippled Scottie Pippen, and it had nothing to do with basketball.
Right.
The play was over. Pippen is standing out of bounds, and he just chucks him into the stands. Well, I think he hits the
stanchion.
The stanchion from the basketball hoop. Yeah, but either way, it's like just ridiculous
it's not a
and
basketball
uncalled
play
for.
for sure.
Anyway, I warned them this was going to happen. I was going to start bringing up how much I hated the Bad Boy Pistons. So I apologize.
Preaching to the choir.
I don't think anyone really loves the Bad Boy Pistons. I've never met anybody that's a huge.
I have a soft spot for the Bad Boy Pistons.
I love Rodman. I've always loved Rodman. Outside of that, no, not really.
I don't know. I guess I really dislike fake tough guys. That really bothers me.
No,
Yeah.
If you're real tough, if you're Charles fucking Oakley, and everybody in the league knows you're a fucking tough guy, and you act tough, I can handle that all day. You can tell. Like, nobody in the league walked up and was like, I'm going to fight Charles Oakley.
No.
Hell no.
No, nobody did that.
'Cause
Bill
nobody was
Laimbeer
stupid.
was a bitch who hid behind Rick Mahorn.
Yeah.
Agreed. I can agree with that one.
Rick Mahorn was the tough guy.
Right.
Bill Laimbeer was a cheap shot artist who hid behind Rick Mahorn and acted like a tough guy. Like when there's 5 guys between us, now I'm going to act like I'm trying to push my way to you. We got a bunch. I mean, actually, as much as I can't stand the guy, Draymond Green had a really good point last night after their game against the Pistons when he was like, we have got a league full of tough guys right now. And I don't know where the hell they all came from. Who the hell is Rodney Magruder, and when did he get tough?
Right. Yeah, I thought that was a great.
I mean, I know him and Clay kind of went off on Rodney Magruder last night. I honestly don't even know what happened with Rodney Magruder that caused all this.
He tried to fight them after the game.
Oh, gotcha.
He walked up to the bench and was trying to fight people.
Draymond said it had to do with some guy I'd never heard of said to Wayne Ellington or something. And
Yeah, early in the game.
Yeah, like in the second quarter, and then Rodney Magruder tried to fight him after the game or
I think
something.
Clay said something from the sideline. I think
Clay was doing like color commentary.
Yeah,
he was in the press box,
and
and he said, I think Rodney Magruder's scared he's going to be out the league next week, so he's
maybe
mad.
Maybe that was
That's
it.
what he said. But there
pretty
is
good.
a whole bunch of fake tough guys now, and that it bothers me now. Your boy Kevin Durant's one of them, and it bothers me. I think DeMarcus Cousins can be that way.
Well, the
I think-
funniest, if we're talking about tough guys, I have a funny DeMarcus Cousins story. 'Cause remember, there for a while, he tried to fight everyone, like with the Kings. You know, he was really good, and he got all this attention, and he was trying to bully people. Well, he tried to bully Zach Randolph. And Zach Randolph, he's called Zebo. He's a beast.
He's one of the few guys that in the current NBA I've actually seen throw and land a punch.
Yeah, and DeMarcus Cousins tries to do something with one of his players, and he turns around, and Zebo's in front of him, and he backed down so fast. And then Zebo stands next to him at the free throw line. He goes, "Where I come from, bullies get bullied. You want to try me?" And then DeMarcus Cousins just shook his head and looked away from him. I was like, "Ooh, he got shut down quick, real quick."
Personally, I kind of think Draymond Green falls in this category too, even though he's the one saying
Draymond's
this.
calculated about it. He's at least smart about it and does. It's actually somewhat effective. I mean, he has a role and he plays it. Some of these guys are just dumb, very dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Draymond does a lot of stuff on purpose to irritate you, and it actually works a lot of times. Not all the time. Then yeah,
No, I think there have been tons of irritants over the years. Guys that over the course of the game are going to try and get under your skin. I mean, we see the obvious ones like Lance Stevenson blowing LeBron's ear and stupid stuff like that. But there's been lots of guys over the years. A lot of them are guards. A couple guys. Even the glove was an irritant,
Tony
even though he
Allen.
was really talented.
Tony Allen was a big
Tony
irritant.
Allen can fall in that
Bruce
category.
Bowen.
Beverly.
Patrick Beverley's a current one. Yeah, that's
Bruce Bowen was
Bruce Bowen.
Reggie.
Yeah, in a different way. Reggie wasn't a getting your ass defender,
He's not talk
but he
shit
would
to you,
talk
though.
shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
all day.
there's a lot of guys that talk shit. But I don't know. We're kind of going off on a tangent here, but
So anyway, do you like Joe Dumars?
I like Joe Dumars. He's fine, and he had some success as a general manager as well because he put together the Pistons squad that won the championship in what year was that? They beat the Lakers.
06.
That was
05,
the
06.
Carmelo and Gary Payton Laker year,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah. He was the GM and put that team together. He
Well, they made
the-
like 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals or something nuts like that.
Yeah, he traded for Rasheed, drafted Tayshaun Prince. Unfortunately, I think he also drafted Darko Milicic, but
Over what D Wade and Melo and
D Wade, Melo,
Bosh.
Chris Bosh. Yeah,
all those
why
guys.
not? If you're looking for a big man, why not take Chris Bosh at that point?
At that point, just-
Darko for real?
yeah.
Actually, I do believe it's what's his first name? Lowe, the guy who does this podcast called The Low Post, is the NBA guy.
Yeah.
What do you remember? What's his first name?
Zach Lowe.
Zach Lowe, thank you. He was actually a beat writer for the Pistons during that time, I guess. He has this big old long story about it. I'm pretty sure that's who it was that was telling the story on Bill Simmons' podcast. And he said that the Pistons' plan for weeks going into the draft was to take Chris Bosh. And like 3 days before the draft, they walked into a gym to work out some of their current players who were like injured and were like rehabbing. And Darko was in there getting up shots. And a couple of their front office guys just fell in love with him while he was staying in a gym playing by himself. And that's what changed their mind to draft Darko second overall above Wade and Anthony and Bosh, these Hall of Famers.
Oh my God.
Think how if they get Bosh, I mean they've already made like 6 Eastern Conference Finals in a row. They went to 2 finals, won 1. So I think they lost to the Spurs in 1 finals, I think. But if they get Chris Bosh, that extends that. That throws a whole. That throws a wrench into things.
It's crazy. Personally, I think the best fit would have been Melo.
Yeah, because
But at that time, they didn't have Sheed, so they had a hole at the 4. I think Bosh logically follows there, but then you probably don't trade for Sheed, who Sheed and Ben Wallace really set the tone for that team, was the defensive front court, the enforcer type guys.
that whole team played defense.
They did. They
Chauncey was a great defender.
really great
Tayshaun was
teammate.
a great defender. Rip was pretty good. It was,
So So anyway, I mean, again, a tangent there, but Joe Dumars put all that team together was my point. So he has some success as a GM. Maybe he's a better GM than a player. I don't know, but
Ooh. We can set up a boxing ring outside if you want to go.
oh yeah. So I would like to ask Ray,
Okay.
what is your case for Joe Dumars being on your 10 shooting guards list above Jerry West?
I just like his style of play better. I mean, I actually got to see Joe Dumars. I mean, watched him in games.
Okay.
Jerry West, I mean, he is in the forgotten era of the NBA. I mean, and besides, statistical stuff and him being on a logo, I mean, what do we really know? I mean, nobody really watched that era. We just keep it in a record book.
I mean, we have the videos. Like
I
it's not
mean-
like that was before film.
But it's not like, oh yeah, let me search through my 60s and 70s era NBA. Yeah, 'cause that's so exciting.
Is your point that West played in one of the weaker eras?
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Okay.
I mean, he did. I mean, I'm one of the guys that makes that point. He did play in a weaker area, but when a guy is like 3 times better than the guy we're talking about, how much of the era probably does bring him down, but does it bring him that far down?
I think so, yeah. Throw Joe Dumars in the 60s and 70s. What we got then?
I don't know.
'Cause we'll never know.
I mean, that's true. That's
We'll
true.
never know, guys.
Another what if to the what if bin.
Yep.
We all have Jerry West very high, don't we?
Yeah.
Jerry West is my 3rd shooting guard.
Yeah, I mean
I don't know where I have him, but he's I think 5 or 6.
he's 21st overall for me.
He's my 3rd shooting guard.
I think he's my 4th or 5th. I want to say 4th.
Alex has him at 26. Wade had him at 21. I have him at 7.
7. Oh
damn.
shit.
7. Oof.
I've got him at 13.
And Ray left him off his list.
'Cause I'm probably a psychopath, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, it's your list.
So
It's
that's
all
right.
right.
It's your list.
That's right. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right. Yeah, so I say we give our closing statements and move on to trivia.
All right.
Because obviously we're not going to change Ray's mind.
Not tonight.
You'll go.
Yeah, I'll go. Again, one of my favorite players on my least favorite teams. I like Joe. He was a great defender. The stats just didn't raise him up to the other guys that I had on my shooting guard list. I even kind of compared him to some of the point guards because he did that a little bit too. And he just didn't make the top 10 on either one for me.
I mean, I was actually fairly impressed with as far as his accolades, his shooting. I love me some defense. Shout out to Kawhi Leonard. But
Woo woo.
Here we go.
yes, by the way, they play the same position. Anyway, I think it was overall. I mean, you're great defensively, good on offense, and it's very valuable. He won championships, which a lot of people on our list can't say. But I don't know. He's outside the top 10 for me. He's just not quite there. I liked him a lot, but just not quite there. Close, but not quite there.
I'll credit Joe for winning titles and some of his defense and being there for those championship teams. But what gets me is when all of them left and stuff. I mean, yeah, he's by himself. He didn't have anybody, but maybe he should have upped his stats a little bit more and get his points and other stuff. I know maybe assists if he doesn't have good players, he can't help that. But maybe up his points because he can help that because, like Ray said earlier, it's only to yourself how many points you score. So that's really my take on Joe.
Thank you, youngster. Thank you very much. You're learning.
Well, Ray, I have to say, I don't dislike Joe Dumars. I kind of fall in the same category as Uncle Doug. I wouldn't say he's my favorite. I don't want to use those words, but he's the most likable of those Bad Boys Pistons. But I just didn't think he rose to the heights I was looking for my list. I mean, I'm a guy that loves championships, so I'm not gonna try and put those down or take those away from him. But like I've said before, not all championships are created equal. And I just the Jerry West thing really bothers me, to be honest. Like, and I'm a '60s hater. I mean, I used it against Dolph Shays. I used it against Paul Arzin. I use it. Is that it so far?
Dolph Shays?
Yeah, I said Dolph Shays.
Oh, my bad.
Pistol Pete.
I didn't really use it. Maybe a little bit, but I mean, I'm gonna use it going forward because we're gonna have Mike in and Pettit and a bunch of other guys. But
you have Pettit at least on your list. So
No, I do.
So you know of his greatness.
But Jerry West is one of those guys that his numbers are redonkulous. So even if you account for that, I think his numbers are still really good. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around. But I do think Joe Dumars is a good quality player. I don't dislike him or take away his Hall of Fame or anything like that. That's what I got.
Okay. No, I don't. I just really like the guy. Good shooter. Great defensive player. I mean, he's got all the criteria we've been talking about. Titles, defense. Scoring's probably a little low. Best player on a finals team. Finals MVP. I mean, we've gone over all this stuff through the other players. Why not Big Joe here? He's just, I guess the criteria just isn't high enough for some people.
Was he really the best player on a championship team?
I think he was.
He was better than Isaiah Thomas?
I believe so.
MVP.
I mean, he has a finals MVP, but that doesn't make you better than...
Right.
I mean, here's a real famous one for you. Is Andre Iguodala a better player than Steph Curry?
That year he was, yeah.
No, for maybe a couple games he was.
No, he was not.
Was James Worthy better than Magic Johnson?
Cornbread Maxwell better than Larry Bird?
We're talking about a couple of games, not the season or the career.
No, we're not. I didn't say career. I'm talking about the finals. And that was part of the criteria that we talk about is best player on a finals team.
Yes, best
and
player
in
on a
that
finals team.
Joe Dumars was the best player.
I think we're
arguing
on the same page. I think Ray's talking about
he's
a
finals
series.
MVP.
Yeah, we're talking about the best player overall on the team for the entire season.
Yes.
Well, see, that's a whole different argument.
Which Dumars did get the finals MVP, which is impressive. It's a good feat.
Right.
But Isaiah, I think, is the best player on the team altogether. I think is Alex's point.
Well, then we have to separate that then, because then you have to say
Correct.
the best player on a team or the best player on a finals team.
No.
And that year, he was the best player on that finals team.
No, I don't believe so. We've been using best player on a finals team as the person that is the best player on the team, and then we say he was finals MVP. That was Wade's thing with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah. But it gets tricky because usually the best player wins the MVP. And then there's those weird cases that we've just identified where that doesn't happen, and then it kind of makes things confusing. But Joe Dumars probably was the, I don't know, second or third best. I don't know which one you want to call him. It's hard to decipher which one you want to make him. He was one of the top players on the team, and he did win the finals MVP, which is a huge accomplishment. But we're on different pages here, I think, in the argument.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I mean, some stats are higher for people. I thought he met the criteria that we've all been talking about. And even before we were talking about the criteria, I thought he had good enough accolades to be on my top 50. So, I mean, that's my closing argument.
Fair enough. So now we'll move on to our next topic, the topic of trivia, where we need to not let Drew answer last. Or second to last.
I literally answered first last time.
Oh,
About Elgin Baylor, I literally did. And Wade piggybacked off of me, so I don't want to hear it. So quit picking on me.
Who wants to go first?
We can't turn on each other. We're winning.
I'll go. I've got one ready.
Let's stick together.
All right. Minutes played. I kind of equated this a little bit. It is total minutes played in NBA career. Number 1 is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's also the leading scorer. Karl Malone, number 2. Also number 2 in scoring. Who is number 3 in minutes played in their career?
Come on, Drew.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
Will Chamberlain.
I'm going to go Robert Parrish.
I'm going to go Kobe Bryant.
Ooh, man. Let me throw Elijah one out there.
I was surprised. It's Dirk.
Oh.
I think he's 5th all time in scoring or something. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not
So,
too far down the list.
3rd in minutes.
There you go.
Who wants to go next?
I can go. I'm keeping my trend going. It'll be my last one, but another one I found very interesting. Who has the most career points for the Clippers?
Clippers, huh?
Ooh,
I'm going to say Bob McAdoo.
I'm gonna go with Chris Paul.
I'll go with Elton Brand.
Oh, yeah, let's go with Elton Brand.
Elton Brand is close. But number 1 is Randy Smith.
Jeez.
I'm not even sure I know who Randy Smith
Well,
is.
this is a very interesting top 5. Top 5 is Randy Smith, Griffin, McAdoo, Brand, and Corey Maggette are the top 5 leading scorers in that franchise history.
Wow.
Chris Paul's 6.
Who's next?
I'll go ahead and go.
All right.
In what year did Lenny Wilkens win Coach of the Year honors?
Ouch.
I would say 78.
Oh, I was going to say.
Coach. I thought he was playing back then.
Coach of the Year honors.
Oh.
I was going to say
Sorry.
late 90s, early 2000s, and he went 70s, and I was like, wait.
I was thinking.
I'm going to go with 90. I'm going to go with 2001.
I'm trying to think who all he coached for. I can remember a couple. I'm going to go 99.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 2002.
Okay. No? Okay. The correct answer is 93-94 season, which I think would have been with the Atlanta Hawks.
Ouch. I really drew a blank on that one, so I'm not surprised I missed it. But all right, me or you, Drew?
Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to continue my theme as well, Willard. And what NBA star co-starred in the movie Double Team with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying mine first, though.
I would say Dennis Rodman.
I've never watched a Van Damme movie in my life.
Gosh.
Really? You never watched any of them?
I've seen a couple parts that are like on TV or like someone else was watching.
Man,
but,
you're missing out, dude.
Yeah, Van Damme's early movies were good.
an NBA star that is in an action.
It's kind of cheesy movie, but it's funny.
I'll just go with Dennis Rodman. It's cheesy.
I'm drawing a blank. I guess I'll go Rodman. I don't know.
Yes, Dennis Rodman.
The correct answer is Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, I almost said someone else too. I was like, ugh.
That movie was the gag. I love that movie.
What does Rodman do in the movie?
He's like an action star.
Yeah, he's an action
Yeah.
star with John Claude.
So, Drew, you're up, buddy.
All right, the all-time leaders in steals is John Stockton, Jason Kidd, Michael Jordan, Gary Payton. Who is number 5?
Ouch, we're getting way down the list here.
So run by the top 4 again.
Stockton, Kidd, Jordan, and Gary Payton. Who is number 5?
I'm going to go LeBron.
Longevity for sure.
I'll go Chris Paul.
Good guess. Wade, Ray?
I got a couple.
Nice.
I think Chris Paul's a good pick because he's been a steal leader multiple times. Well, of course, LeBron's played for like 40 years, so. I'll go Chris Paul, though.
Yeah, make it a Chris Paul.
Maurice Cheeks.
Oh, man.
Another 76er.
Chris
Yeah.
Paul was number 7, actually.
Oh.
Oh.
I know
Okay.
he's been a steals champion a couple times.
Yeah.
That's
Forgot about
everybody,
old Mo
right?
Cheeks.
Everybody?
Huh?
That's everybody?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
All right. So after this week, the scores are as follows: Ray with 11, Alex with 16, Doug with 19, Wade with 22, and Drew with 23. The last couple weeks, nobody gets a question right except for mine, and everybody gets 1 point, and I get 0. So this is horse shit. And I'm going to ask really hard questions next week.
Yeah.
So that all being said, this was our last week of only one guy making their case for a player. So starting next week, 2 people will have the players that we go over on their list. So it'll be 2 versus 3 in the argument instead of 1 versus 4. And next week's episode will be Tracy McGrady, who will be defended by myself and Wade, who will destroy the other 3 in a very basic argument because T-Mac is great. But
Well, that's up for debate.
there's no debate.
There's a big debate about how he's not.
Just end the show.
But we appreciate your listen, and we'll see you next week for some T-Mac talk. Thank you.